What's up, recappers? This is the Owl Recap, a show focused on covering the news, matches, and results of the Overwatch League. I am your host, Andres, aka I Play Games, and today I'm joined by the usual suspects.
It is a
Bob, how you doing, my dude?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Doing really good. Feeling good
Yeah, what's
about the Dallas Fuel and about some good games and just lots going on.
lots of good games this week, that's for sure. I can't wait to talk about them. And also, Melarina, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good. I'm here.
Outlaws didn't have a great week this week. Not too bad, but
They won.
yeah, they won, but they
Mm,
looked all right. We'll talk
yeah.
about that a little later. Let's get into some news first of all. I want to especially thank our patrons, Zimmy, for joining us on the producer, or I mean, sorry, for Zimmy for joining us on the Patreon, and Shazir for joining us as a producer. Both of you guys are super awesome. Shazir got in touch with me and said, "Listen, man, I really like your shows, OmniClab and I'll Recap. I want to support them both. I might not be able to do it for a really long time on that level, but still, any level is super awesome for us. Thank you so much. It helps us get to
Yeah,
the league and do all the news over there."
this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Back to some news for the Overwatch League. We now know that Blizzard is planning on doing an all-star game. They have now released a few more details of what's going to be going on. First of all, the all-star game will be happening August 25th. I feel it's going to be a variety of games. It's going to be a week where they kind of go back to back, playing some different modes, checking each other out, and then there will be a grand final or a final showdown where 6 versus 6 will go against each other and see who truly is the all-star. Also, you guys will be able to pick who you want to be in the all-star team, at least 6 slots out of the 12. So you'll be able to vote who you think is the people who deserve to be the most up in the all-star team and make it happen.
Yeah, I
What do you guys
believe.
think? Who are you gonna vote for?
I was gonna say, I believe you have to. You still have to do like the 2-2-2 thing, uh, but I'm not really sure how that works with the flex. But they're gonna still keep the teams normal to Overwatch League, so you're not gonna have like
Six
all
DPS.
DPS. Although that would be kind of interesting.
I mean, what do we count Jonak as?
Yeah, is he a DPS or a support?
I mean, I feel like that's just not fair.
Yeah, this is actually really cool because in most sports, the All Star game, the Pro Bowl, I'm like, whatever, I don't care. They're just basically playing tag, but because they don't want to get hurt. But in this, like, we might see some really good games, which could be really cool.
I'm excited for it. We definitely know Jonak is making it up in there, whether it's voted or they put it up in there. But he's going there. But who else do you think is gonna make it to the All-Star team?
I feel like with votes, I mean, it's going to be a lot of, Houston, a lot of Dallas, and a lot of the NYXL because they're the most popular.
I could see that. You think Fleta can sneak in there?
I
Well,
don't
I mean, the
know.
Pacific Division, though, isn't super populated with a lot of teams that I think are going to pull from him. So I think Fleta's probably one of the best, if not the best, DPS in the Pacific Division.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We'll
Dallas is over
see.
there, but you know,
I think that Blizzard anticipated this and they were like, we're only gonna let you guys choose 6. We're gonna make sure we pick the other 6 just in case somebody falls through the cracks, which we think
So,
deserves to be up in there.
an even more interesting question is who's going to get in that wasn't picked by the fans? That's a
and
more
how's that
interesting
going to go
question.
over?
Hmm, interesting. I could see maybe a tank or a support maybe making it up in there. Maybe a fraggy. I could see Reinforce kind of pulling for that.
Dude, yeah, don't get me started on Fraggy because Fraggy needs to go back in. Sato needs to take his spot back on the bench.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. They've just
We'll
been
get
losing since he's been in. So
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right. Another little piece of news over here that I kind of find a little bit curious, but Symmetra will not be allowed in the grand finals.
I mean, she's been such an overwhelming pick that they just had to take her off the roster, you know?
I mean, we know that every team that picks her just has instantly won. No.
Instant win.
well, I think they just took her out because like it had already sold out. All the Symmetra fans didn't get their tickets yet. So
No, in all reality, they took her out because they're changing her and they're releasing that. So they just wanted everybody to know she won't be allowed in the Overwatch League grand finals with her changes.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think. Yeah, it's an anticipation to that. They don't want to set up the expectations to happen the same thing happened with the Hanzo changes, right? Like he got changed right before stage 4. A lot of people flipped the tables over here saying, why is the new Hanzo not going to be in the league? There's a variety of reasons. We discussed it in the show previously, but I'm sure that it's part that, and also because the Overwatch League, the finals at least, are going to have a large viewership that is not only going to be Overwatch people, right? And I'm sure that Blizzard, if they are about to change a hero that they've been working on so much in the past few years, one of the most controversial ones, they maybe don't want to have that hero in its current state debuting to so many new eyes, right? They might not want to have the game in the newer state that they're looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm. I mean, I don't think it'll change much, but there could have been some cheeky teams if the changes did go through and they were in there. Got Muma finally given a chance.
Finally, Boomer. All right, guys. We also have an interesting little piece of statistics over here. Winston's lab has provided us with an interesting little chart that shows the average statistics for Zenyatta players in each team and their relative standings on the rankings. And it's interesting because it correlates quite a bit. Having a very strong Zenyatta on your team and you're standing in the league right now. Obviously, you can see New York being at the top, but as you go down, you can see most of the teams line up almost perfectly in performance as you go down. It's quite interesting thinking that Zenyatta could be the backbone of the Overwatch League right now.
Right. I thought it was really cool just to see the trends and how well it did match up. I'd be curious to see how well it matches up with like really good Widow players too, because they didn't have those stats in there or anything.
Right.
But like it just shows what a big impact Zenyatta is, whether she's doing it alone or not, we don't know. But
And obviously, a lot of people might look at this chart and say, well, that's some news, water makes you wet kind of thing right here. But it's just nice to see that confirmation that a good Zenyatta can have such a huge impact on a team because he's been one of the most misunderstood healers sometimes since the beginning. I remember that when the game first came out, people would flip out if you just pick Zenyatta. They'd be like, no, don't do that. We won't have enough heals. Please do something else. But now it's shown that the hero is very, very strong. And over time, the best players have carried their teams on the back of Zenyatta's.
yeah, well, and back wait like way back then, remember he didn't have all the health, so he could be one shotted by so many different classes. But he was still pretty OP, man. Like just the 30% damage to everyone on your team is just, I mean, it's too much to pass up.
It is. Plus the damage that he brings to the table. Because, a good Zenyatta is going to be sniping off those heroes here and
Hmm.
there. Alrighty, another little piece of news. As we've said previously in the show, next season, Blizzard plans to add 6 new teams to the Overwatch League. So far, we've heard that they want to expand mostly in Europe, a little bit in the Americas, and a little bit on Asia. I think that so far the feedback has been, hey, there's a lot of North American teams. You're calling this a global league, but so far there's like 3 offshore teams, and that's about it. There's not a lot to pick from, and if they really want to root for the locality in a worldwide league, there's definitely need to be a little more teams, especially in Latin America. Poor Latin America underrepresented over there. I know the Brazilians love playing Overwatch. I know that there's a thriving scene in Colombia as well, where I'm originally from. So I would like to see some representation down there, as well as a little more in Europe. Where's the German team? Where's the French team? You know, there's so many people to pick from over there. So much talent that I hope
Right.
that it really picks up.
It
What
is
teams would you
exciting
like
to
to see?
hear. It is exciting to hear that they're looking at adding six more teams, which I think is probably a bigger number than I initially thought they were going to look at. I thought it was be more around four, but I don't know. I think it'd be cool to get a team in Berlin. I think that'd be a cool European team. I think we could get what they say, two teams. They're looking for two from the Americas, two from Asia Pacific, and two from the Europe or Middle East.
I think so. I would think so. Maybe the distribution will be a little different. I would say maybe one team from Latin America. I just don't see it being more than that. Maybe two, like maybe a team from Mexico could see it, maybe one from Brazil. But I just don't see the scene being strong and enough to have more than one professional team than there right now. In Europe, I could see maybe three more teams. Asia, same. There's so much talent over there. I would say South Korea has the capability of pushing two, three really top tier teams that could compete in the Overwatch League. So I don't know.
I think it's more about just finding investors at this point that
Right.
want to put up that type of money for something that's so new. I think esports have been so big in Asia for so long that the newness of Overwatch was a little bit deterring to a lot of investors, right? They have really good teams, esports teams in a lot of other areas. And I think that's why it was so kind of enticing to the US because it's just kind of a new and up and coming esports in general around here. And we've got the teams for the other esports, but they're not as, I don't know what to call it, but they're not as solid and not as well built, I don't think. And I think the way that they've put together the Overwatch League appealed to more American teams because of its center around traditional sports.
I think so. And I think that the infrastructure is a little bit easier to control over here because, it's easier to talk to the administrations. They're all working under the same laws, so it's easier to kind of keep everyone around the same boat. That's not to say that there's some very competent organizations um, across the seas that could do an excellent job about it, but I do think that Blizzard is being a little more careful when they're expanding overseas, trying to find the right fit and not just sell some franchises to grab a bunch of money. They want this league to be respected, taken very seriously. They don't want any player abuse. So I'm sure that they take their time handpicking this. But I will say though, this time around, they're probably gonna have a very easy time picking up more investors because now they can come with a portfolio showing what each franchise made in the league and showing like, hey, this is the return investment we had this year. And if it's looking good, any sound investor that is interested in esports or in this industry in general would not mind it at all. Would be just be like, okay, that looks good. That looks like I can make my money back, at least my 20 million back, and whatever else I need to invest to keep the team afloat. And as long as you can recoup that investment in a few years, which is more than likely gonna happen because the league is not going anywhere. We're at
Right.
least gonna have this league for a decade, if not more.
Do you think that do you think it has anything to do with the fact that they are based out of America and why we've seen less investment from, you know, Asian teams or anywhere else? Because what is what's the funding for them to move all of the players to LA and for them to support all of that? You know what I mean?
I am sure that like those teams have to consider all those things. There's extra costs. Obviously, they're gonna have to find some facilities in America and bring all their players, figure all the visa issues and figure all that out. There's a lot of logistics that probably go into that. A lot harder than an American team bringing talent from in-house from America. But I don't know. I think that the right investor could make it happen pretty easily. I know that investors probably like for Shanghai Dragons or Seoul Dynasty are the kind of people that are not lacking funds, right? They're not lacking a team behind them either. They have like legal advisors, like they're like established companies with big investors or owners that probably have a ton of spare money. So to them, this is just another business venture, right? They're not putting
Right.
their life savings on the line over here. I don't think.
That's why we don't invest.
That's why we're not Overwatch League owners.
That's actually the next bit of news. So in recent news, BlazzinBob buys. No, I'm kidding. Um, no, I think
BlazzinBob
adding
starting the Kansas team.
Kansas City, Kansas City.
Come on.
Um, so I think that adding 6 more teams is great. I think that's awesome. The thing that worries me is that you've been there, I've been there, we've all been there. That facility is crowded. How are they going to do that if they have that many teams? If they don't get another auditorium, then I think what you're going to be seeing is teams getting bye weeks off. So giving the players more breaks so that they don't tire out as quickly as before. I think that's the only way they can actually do. They can actually keep that whole operation with 18 teams in Burbank.
That's also
I
a
don't
very
know
good
that they're
point.
planning on doing that though. Keeping them in Burbank this year.
Well, all they've said publicly is they want to get more arenas in season 3. They haven't said anything about season 2. I've been guessing that they'd get another arena season 2 in New York, and I've been saying that for a while. So we'll remain to see if that happens. There's a lot of Overwatch League fans there, though.
Well, I mean, they sold out for the grand finals, and I think that was a big boon in their direction. I think this was kind of testing the waters, seeing how buy-in would be in New York.
20,000 seats.
Yep, they did it.
It's a big auditorium. It's gonna be fun. We definitely got our tickets. We will be on our way for the finals. I'm very excited for it, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah, that's also another piece of news that I want to cover. They're all sold out. So if you wanted to get tickets, you might have to find it somewhere else at this point. Hopefully you can do. You can join our community if you're looking for tickets. I know that a lot of people in there are gonna be looking for them or might have some extras. And if you're planning to go, definitely make sure you check in with the Discord because we'll be there. So if you want to hang out, meet us or just hang out after the matches, we'll definitely be up there. Um, cool. Also, the last little piece of news: Captain Planet has pulled out a little Brigitte stats or Brigitta stats sheet. Very cool little summary of this past few weeks and how's it been on Brigitte. So far, Dallas Fuel has been the team that has played her the most, with LA Valiant and Houston Outlaws coming in a close second. We have Florida Mayhem, Seoul Dynasty, and New York Excelsior coming in on fourth, fifth, and sixth under a 20% usage. It's worth noting that Dallas Fuel comes in first with a 71% usage. So it means that they're pulling her out almost on every point except for a few. This has become their staple comp, and they only switch off of her for very special points like Gibraltar point 2, which I've noticed everyone is doing now. Gladiators and Houston Outlaws, though, it's a little bit more tactical. I think that they only pull her out in order to counter things like Tracer or Genji's to make their back a little more beefy, help with the Reinhardt. But it's been more of a technical choice by them.
Which is
Um,
weird because I would argue that they have the staff to really run the Reinhardt Brigitte really well. Houston, like
I would say so.
they have fact fiction. One of the best Reinhardts was first on your show Omnic Lab way back, And I mean, I think they could really run it. Jake's a very smart player, and it wouldn't take long to be really good on Brigitte. You see, Agilities is looking really good on him now too.
I agree with you there, but I think that I want to say that they recognize this too, and they still choose not to do it. Another interesting fact is Brigitte playtime on the ladder, in the competitive ladder, has actually decreased quite a lot. I think I saw an article where, and I'm giving estimates over here, the first week that she came out, she was being played around 70% of the time on the ladder. And now it's down to like 30%. And I'm talking about masters and above, I believe. So I think that the Brigitte hype has settled down a little bit, and a lot of teams have started using her more as a tactical switch, kind of like a counter pick to certain styles. Definitely against tracers. She definitely destroys the flankers and can make your front line really beefy. But if on the map or the playstyle that you're trying to do, you don't have a beefy front line and you're needing a little bit more mobility, especially on the verticality side, she's just not the hero to pick, I believe. And I think a lot of teams have started to recognize this. That being said, though, the teams that are not using her at all are performing quite bad this past few weeks. And in those, we're talking about London Spitfire with a 13% usage, Philadelphia Fusion with a 12% usage, a team that was looking so strong last last why am I
Stage.
blanking on the
Stage.
word? Last stage, thank you. And started strong this stage, but now that the Brigitte is taking over, they're not looking good anymore. San Francisco Shock, also low usage, even though they looked really good this week. They did some amazing things. And same with Boston Uprising. Most of the teams that have stuck kind of to what they were playing last stage are not performing well. I'm not going to go into Shanghai Dragons because I don't think anything has changed with them.
But 2.6%.
3.6,
3.6.
Yeah,
3.6%.
3.6 total.
Almost untouched. Definitely the team that has experimented with her the least, even though they're the team that had the least to lose by doing so.
Right? Come on, Shanghai.
They're a little too afraid there.
Afraid of what? Increasing
I
their
don't know.
losing
I don't know.
streak?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. But just to give you guys a little example of the players that have been playing Brigitte, the player with the most usage is Mickey with the 71.4%, meaning that he's the only player in Dallas Fuel that is playing Brigitte. Is the dedicated Brigitte player. We
Are
also
you trying to
have
tell me that Dallas has like a standard lineup that they're playing every week? Like almost the same people?
Yep, that's what I'm
What?
trying to tell you. Uh, We also have Bishu and Surefour for Gladiators. Bishu playing here 30% of the time and Surefour about 4% of the time. In Houston Outlaws, we actually have a big diversity with Jake, Muma, and Linkser being on the Brigitte. Linkser just for a brief 3%, Muma for 10%, and Jake for about 20%. So it seems that Muma and Jake alternate quite often, Jake having her a little bit more of the time. Another few standouts I would say is LA Valiant, again having three players that have played her, Soon, Agilities, and Fate. What I find the most interesting is that in LA Valiant is both of the DPS that have been playing it more than anything. I think on the battle with New York, I saw Space actually use her for a little bit. Their off tank. So I don't know. It seems like this team has experimented with Brigitte quite a bit, and there's a few players in it that can play her.
It's interesting to note that Mickey's the only off tank when this came out that had been playing her at all. Other than that,
Hmm.
it was mainly DPS or
Mostly
Flex.
DPS or flex, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey is the Dallas Fury are the only ones that are actually maining Brigitte.
It does seem that the double support usually stays untouched. The Zenyatta, it's like sacred, man. You don't touch the Zenyatta in these teams unless you're swapping it maybe for like a Lucio or something like that. And even then, sometimes you run the Lucio with the Zenyatta and you sacrifice the heals for the mobility and the offensive power there. That's how strong Zenyatta is in the season. And then Mercy as well, just such a strong healer. Sometimes you see her being swapped for Moira, depending on the composition and the map. Rarely you see her being swapped to an Anna, even though Anna has had her moments this league, especially because with a Zenyatta, your grenade is actually the best way to stop the graviton surge and the dragon that we've seen a lot of Hanzo lately in the league as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised Anna hasn't gotten a little more use, and all I can think of is it's just harder to sink the grenade and the res. I mean, the res is just too good.
Yeah, I think that Mercy just has more consistency with the heals. It's just easier to keep your team alive, especially in the really hectic battles where you need the heals to be very consistent. And it
Yep.
just has a little trouble in there.
And
They're
Mercy
not
can
playing.
fly off, you know. Guardian
Yeah, Mercy
Angel's
can fly off.
huge.
They have the mobility. So I think you trade off a few things. With Anna, you just get a lot of tools to fight the battle and turn it around, but they're just very specialized. With Mercy, you just get like, I feel like the bread and butter, the just what you need, but sometimes that's all that you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so many teams have been practicing to get a good Mercy since stage one that I think it was just like, well, Anna's not going to bring that much to us. Let's just keep going.
Mhm. Absolutely. Last thing I wanted to show in the article was team hero compositions alongside Brigitte. We were just talking about a few of the heroes that get placed or played with her. Zenyatta and Mercy being the top picks about 99% of the time, 99.7% of the time. So almost every single time you're running a Zenyatta with a Brigitte, which it's just really strong because the Brigitte can protect the Zenyatta really well, and you still have that firepower from Zen and the Discord orbs. Flankers just stand no chance against that backline. Mercy, like we said, is such a solid healer too.
And you just give Jonak like unbelievable amount of health. So
And the health, exactly. It's just your backline becomes super strong with a Brigitte there. Another hero that is surprisingly being played with her quite a bit is Diva. Reinhardt coming in second. Diva with an 80% pick rate with Brigitte and Reinhardt with a 62% pick rate. So about 20% more than Reinhardt, but they just pair quite well. Winston, surprisingly, is coming only right below Reinhardt in the Overwatch League with a 59.5%. So a lot of the people that were saying Winston is dead, Brigitte is the bane of Winston, should take a look at this. Because yes, Winston's playtime has decreased from almost a must pick on every fight to about 60% of the time with Brigitte.
but looking at those numbers on how often she's played by different teams, I mean, you're looking at probably the other 33% is the highest amount of time that any other team besides Dallas played her, right? So
Right.
maybe that's where that 33% is coming from on
Right.
Winston, where he's not being played during those times.
But I think that comes to the fact with map layout, for example. Let's bring it back to Gibraltar point two. And I know that I keep harping on this point, but it's one of the points that was very obvious to me from the start where Brigitte was just not that good. Because in that point, the most important thing is the shuttle. If you have control of the shuttle and the roof above the shuttle, your team has a huge advantage because there's not a lot of heroes that can contest you up there. And especially if you have a Widowmaker, for example, posted up there, your team is forced to deal with her. Or if not, it's too easy to lose, right? You just become a shooting gallery down
Right.
there. And it turns out that Brigitte is one of the worst heroes to try to get up there. She has no business going up there. And because the name of the game is win the high ground in this point so much because it's so strong, Winston becomes a really good pick in this map, for example, because
Right.
you're not relying on the Brigitte anymore. You only need to deal with whatever is up top, and then you bring the battle down to the floor once you've already won that team fight. And I think that's what some teams recognize in certain maps. We don't have to engage the Brigitte because we only have to win the mobility battle. We have to win the high ground at this point, and then Brigitte becomes really easy to deal with when we can all just gang up on her, and it's really
Right.
hard for her to get from one side to the other in that particular point.
I've seen most teams play her on point three on Gibraltar, and I
Yeah,
think that's why her pick rate on Gibraltar is still at like 20% because they're
right.
picking her at the end. What's interesting though is that Kings Row and Horizon are both like 5% or less of Brigitte use just in general, like at all. So,
Which I think makes sense a little bit just because, again, Kings Row is one of those maps where high ground can be quite important. You
But
get
they're
all the
going with
snipers.
but they're going with Ryan the majority of the time. They're actually having a Zarya instead of the Brigitte. So you
And
know what I mean?
my
High
second point
ground.
was not only the snipers, but you have the graviton plus usually a Hanzo or some sort of ultimate that deals a lot of area damage. And when you have your team all cluttered up together, like Brigitte likes to, you kind of become a little more vulnerable to that sort of thing. And that would be my guess, just because close quarters, a lot of close quarter fights where spam is just very dangerous. That would be my only guess.
Yeah, it's a good call.
But that'll do it for stats for Brigitte. It's interesting to see how the league is evolving with her. She's definitely not the overwhelming presence that some people were making out to be. She does have a spot in the meta. Some teams have been able to take a big advantage of her, but I think that some other teams have been able to adapt quite well to playing against the Brigitte. So she hasn't become the end all be all every single team fight, every single team is playing her. I think that some teams have found ways around her to and still thrive. But that being said, she is a strong pick and she definitely delivers. Alrighty. Mel, you want to guide us through some team news over here?
are you tired of talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple things. We had LA Valiant announce that they were partnering with You Can Play project. It's to promote LGBTQ plus. I don't know what the plus is, but I'm sure it's something exciting. And then inclusion into sports. So I think with everything going on, and there's been some people that have encountered a little bit of hate. I think they're just trying to be the first ones to get it out there, but it's cool. Good for them. Thoughts on that, guys?
I think it's cool. Definitely anything that is all inclusive, promotes fair play, friendships, and just having a good, healthy community. I'm all down for it because at the end of the day, none of these things can thrive. You just have everyone hating on each other. You can only
Right.
have successful things if people actually want to be there.
Full
Speaking
dis-
of unhealthy communities, Boston Uprising announced a Twitch as exclusive live streaming service. I'm just saying they're anything but a healthy, nice, friendly community. What are you gonna say, Bob?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I didn't hear about this all inclusive thing until just now, so I was unable to look at the link.
Fail.
But cool, very cool.
That's it. Let's talk about last week.
Let's do it. Let's go right into the game discussions. Let's start with a very big surprise that happened this week. It's not the first time that has happened. We've seen this happen before, but it's rare. And when it happens, it definitely gets me very excited. New York Excelsior has lost against LA Valiant.
It happens once a stage, every
and
time.
I know I'm going out of order over here, but I just kind of wanted to bring that one first because I was super surprised. It came down to the bitter end. It could have been anyone's game at this point. It was a very back to back. Definitely New York Excelsior did not make it easy for Valiant, but they were able to pull it off, and with some spectacular plays coming from Soon and agilities. Definitely the whole team was on point, but wow, did these guys impressed me, man. Agilities is playing out of his mind. Did you get a chance to catch this one, Mel?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Valiant, but did you see the like hardcore throwing Pine was doing at the end there of Gibraltar?
Yeah, yeah. Did you see the hook that he tried to do with Widow, where he
5 times.
went and he jumped off the edge on the far left side, shot the
Grappling hook.
yeah, grappling hook, and then grappled up behind them, and then proceeded to miss every shot every time he did it. But he did make the jump every time. It's the first time I've ever seen that done.
I will say something, and we talked about this in team practice the other day. It's all about high risk, high reward plays, and sometimes as a DPS player, you have to make those tough calls. And
Well, he made the
Mel,
tough call about 4 times and he failed every single time.
and now it does come with great responsibility, right? If you do mess it up, especially several times, then you'll get the blame. You'll stick out like a sore thumb. Shame will be bestowed upon you. But sometimes you just gotta try. And poor Pine, man, he tried. He didn't do it. I've been there. Sometimes it's high stress situations. He might have tensed up a little bit too much. His shots might have been a little rigid. You never know, man. There was a lot of pressure in the line. If you heard the crowd too, they were going insane. I'm pretty sure that the players could hear the crowd on the stage because they were being super, super loud. That LA Valiant crowd, man, they were riled up.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I think Pine was just having fun with it. To be honest, I don't think that New York they don't have anything to lose right now, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they've already won two
that's the other
stage
thing too.
playoffs. They are guaranteed in for the season playoffs, and I think the pressure's all gone. And they don't. Not that they're not going to give 90%, but I don't think we're going to see 100% from New York the rest of the stage.
And I think that's a mistake right there. I think you don't. It's kind of like sitting your players before playoffs. I'm not a believer in it. I think you just go as hard as you can each. Like maybe take practices off, but don't throw games like that.
Normally, I would agree with you, but New York has such an overwhelming lead at this point that even losing a game for them like literally means nothing. They've
Yeah,
won
but this
what?
is this is their practice for this new meta, and they're just wasting it.
Right, but we also talked about how overworking your players can turn out. We've talked about how maybe Shanghai has been a little too rough on their work days. I mean, we don't know for sure, but I think that New York recognizing that they have a huge lead and letting their players fight through the burnout, not grinding them to the ground and being like, we're doing great. We have to do better at this point. No, but being more
Um,
like, guys, we're doing great. Uh, we want to keep our head in the game, but we don't want it to consume our lives and want to start fresh or get to the finals in a fresh state of mind, very motivated, loving the game, and not just fretting it or on a burnout streak.
I got you, but you're missing my point. I'm saying don't throw. I'm saying take time off, relax more, but don't throw like Pine just threw. I mean, it was extremely rude too, and I'm glad that they lost because of it.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, it was
this is
the
one way to see
very
it.
end. I don't think the entire match they were memeing and throwing. I think it was I honestly think they got to that third point with so much time left. They're like, forget it. We're just gonna try some fun stuff. And then it kind of backfired on them a little bit towards the end. But again, I don't think they really cared if it did or not. I think there's
And it's better that it happened now, right? Because
right.
that's always the story of the turtle and the hare, right? Where you have such a huge lead that you relax too much, you start poking fun at your enemy, being
Exactly.
able to relax, and all of a sudden you're behind them. So I'm
Yeah.
glad it happened here. Hope that it doesn't happen in the final. I hope they don't
I
get too
mean,
cocky.
it is setting them up though for really failing in the finals if they keep this up. if they continue to kind of meme, like getting themselves back to a regimen and working hard for the finals is going to be difficult and they might get upset.
We'll see. Maybe Jonak will have a harsh talk with Pine and be like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna need you to step up your game."
Come on, dude.
I'm sure they'll do okay. But talking about New York Excelsior, they did win against the Fusion, 4-0. So still doing good over there.
Or
The-
Fusion's still doing bad, but whatever.
Re- release Fraggy. Release Fraggy.
Definitely.
Let that
Valiant,
Fraggy go.
Valiant, on the other hand, had a fantastic week, not only beating New York Excelsior, but also winning the battle for Los Angeles. Man, they were probably walking on clouds this week, claiming Los Angeles for themselves and then beating the top dog of the league. I sure hope that they got a nice dinner and celebration with the whole team
Korean
because they
barbecue,
deserve
maybe.
it, man. Yeah, some Korean barbecue. I hope they took out the guys for a nice night out in LA.
I agree. Yeah, they looked good this week. They really did. They have kind of pulled it together. I know last stage I was a little bit more down on them, thinking, they were just playing not as highly qualified opponents and they kind of skated through, but I do think we've seen some good things from them so far this stage.
Definitely. And I will say, I'm really proud of Soon transitioning to that Widow so well, being one of the best tracers in the world and being like, no, no worries, guys. I can be a fantastic Widow as well. He just transfers from one carry to the next, and he does a great
Yeah.
job. And not only that, he has agilities right next to him, which is one of the most flexible players. Like sometimes he reminds me of Surefour, and sometimes even better than that. He's
See, he
very
reminds
flexible. He can
me.
swap.
I don't know. He's more projectile. Like he more reminds me of hydration, but I think hydration's better. But agilities is awesome, and he's arguably the best or second best under Mickey Brigita in the league now. Also, so
His Brigitte is scary for sure.
very
Just his
scary.
game sense is so good that you don't want to be anywhere near his Brigitte, especially as Genji or Tracer. Plus, the ability of him to swap to Roadhog, to Junkrat, to Pharah. You need a Genji, no problem. He's got you too. And now he's jumping into Brigitte as well. He's just like his hero pool is really deep because when he swaps, you don't notice any difference in like power level, right? Like he's going to these heroes and he's playing all of them at the same level, being able to go toe to toe with the best DPS in the league, the best tanks in the league, and switching his position so much, right? Because the way you play Genji is so different to the way you play Brigitte. Your targets are completely different, and you're swapping fighting maybe like an incredible flanker like Sabiobi into fighting a frontliner, right? You're fighting the enemy Reinhardt, and now you have to be able to read your tanks, read their tanks. So just overall, such a great player, I think.
And remembering to heal people.
Right. Yeah,
Like
and then playing a healer role, which is usually not a role that any DPS is comfortable with. Just look at my Zenyatta stats when I played a lot of DPS, and you can see
No,
what I'm talking about.
no Jonak there.
No Jonak there. Ah, that makes me sad.
You had half of it down. Gotta, yeah.
I'm halfway there. Anything else you guys want to add for the Valiant? Anything that sticks out for you?
No, I hope they keep
no,
it up. I mean, they have a decent schedule coming up, so we'll see how they go getting challenged by quite a few other teams. I think it's really promising to see that they were able to beat the Gladiators and NYXL in the same week because I think they always struggle a little bit against the Gladiators because of the matchup, and then NYXL, obviously, everybody struggles against. So that's always good to see that happen. Usually, if you beat a good team, you beat that good team, and then you kind of fail on your other game. So
yeah, and they did have an easy schedule in stage 3, but the schedule is a little bit harder, and they're doing good. So
Yeah, definitely. They showed up to fight. That is for sure. Gladiators, even though they lost against the Valiant, they did win against Fusion. I kind of feel bad for Fusion a little bit because they've kind of falling off the map a bit the past few weeks. Their style is just not gluing. They have great players, but they keep getting shut down, man.
Dude,
EQO, such a
dude.
great player, but he has just not been able to make a dent on the enemy team.
Let my Fraggy go. Tell you, man, release the Fraggy. Put Sato away. Like, Fraggy's been playing with him forever. Like, just, like, let him try with that synergy. I like Fraggy's Reinhardt more anyhow. So,
So you
give
you
it a
think it's a
try.
matter of space? Do you think that the front line needs to be a little more aggressive, open up a little more for EQO, for Architect, to move in? What's the deal
Yeah,
here?
I just think that, yeah, you go Sato if you're in stage 1, 2, or 3. But in stage 4, I say you go Reinhardt, you go Fraggy. Like, you don't need a really good monkey. Like, Dallas has shown us that, so why not try that? Especially with how bad you're doing right now. But then it goes into the whole, well, maybe you're not trying it because you're doing so bad. Now you're too scared to even take a chance. I just hope they do, and I want to see Fraggy play, man.
And another thing is the change in meta is not gonna favor every team, right? Fusion is a team that was doing really good, but they were doing really good in a dive meta, and their players are known to be amazing dive players. And they have not shown quite as much adaptation. They're still trying to force that dive, and I think that they are seeing some friction. I think that EQO or the Fusion was one of the first teams that reserved their thoughts on Brigitte, and they really seemed like they're one of the teams that wanted to fight that trend. That they thought they could adapt their style enough that they could play around the Brigitte. But we've seen EQO go on Twitter and admitted himself that he was a little wrong about Brigitte, and she does counter Genji a little bit. So I think he's felt it himself, and I think that the team itself has struggled because their strategy in general hasn't changed much from last stage, but every other team's strategy has.
Yeah, I mean, take a page from from the LA Valiant and put EQO on Brigitte and let Carpe play
Widow.
Widow. Thank you,
Yeah,
and give it
Kirby's
a
had some
try.
great moments on Widow, and you guys don't forget EQO has a wrist injury, so we don't see EQO.
So put Shadowbird on Brigitte. I'm sure he can figure it out.
No, I
I think it's the same deal. You know, they have to adapt their strategy a bit because it's just not paying off for them at this moment.
yeah, they're not looking good. It's ugly. I don't know that Sato's the problem. I think he's probably the least of their problems right now, but they're not looking good.
Oh, absolutely. Let's jump into the fuel. Let's talk about the fuel, Bob, because fuel actually has had an okay week. Last week they were doing really good. I think that this week a lot of the teams came prepared, but they still managed to win against London Spitfire.
Not
Unfortunately,
just
they
win, the fastest Overwatch match in history. The fastest
really
Overwatch
that's the
League
record.
regular season match ever.
No, I
According
think
to
they missed
Dot
that.
Esports,
Oh, I saw Captain Planet post something that they had just missed it, like something else.
you're thinking about uh, Hanamura map win on the last week, which they were just underneath the best one.
One thing that I gotta give to them is that even though this team does, I don't think has the most mechanically advanced players, they're still getting outplayed by some of the better mechanical teams in the league. But they have nailed down a strategy that works really, really well in this metagame. And that strategy has been carrying them through a lot of games. And teams that are not prepared for this strategy and that are not respecting it are getting steamrolled because it has happened several times already in certain maps where Dallas Field just looks like unstoppable, and it's very coordinated. They look very good, and those maps, it's been like record blazing fast speed. Um, just when the other teams are not prepared for the Dallas train.
Yeah, they're doing all kinds of weird stuff. Like the they're doing basically two comps. They're doing the dive minus Tracer with Widow, and then with Monkey Diva, Mercy Zen, and then they're doing the triple support where they have a Reinhardt, Brigitte, Zen, Mercy, uh, usually a Widow or a McCree, and then they'll have Siegel either doing DPS, Hanzo, sometimes even Genji, and then switching over to Diva, depending on what they need at the time or for the map. So it's really interesting what they're doing, and Mickey's on point with Diva and with Ryan. Like, he stuns right before Shatter, stuns Ryan right as the Diva bomb's going over the top of the head. I mean, it's really fun to watch right now, and I don't know how they're communicating so
They're really quick
fast,
though.
but Harry Hook, I guess, has taken over shot calling, so that's something
Oh,
that's
cool.
new since Arrow got there.
And I will say, I don't know what Arrow has done to this team, but their team coordination and their team play is really what's carrying them through these matches. It's exactly what you're saying. Mickey enabling Reinhardt and enabling Diva to sneak in shatters, sneaking Diva bombs by stunning the Reinhardt at the right moments, waiting for him around the corner and allowing his Reinhardt to win the shield battle all the time. Because if you really think about it, AKM is a good player, but he's not a Fleta or a Soon on
No,
Widowmaker. He,
Taimu's been more of the DPS. AKM's come in here and there throughout this stage, but it's
but
mainly
we've
been
seen it.
Taimu clicking heads.
It's mainly been Taimu. Fortunately, has stepped up, but again, Taimu is not on the same level or of consistency as like Linkser, for example.
He
He's
is
been
this stage
his this stage has been looking good, but like you said, Taimu is one of those on and off
streaky.
DPS players. Yeah, right now he's in the he's in the uppity up. They're
Just
looking
keep
really
that
good.
fire lit under his butt, guys. Just keep the heat turned on. Do not
Whatever
let
you're
that
telling
pilot light
Taimu,
go out.
man. Yeah, just keep telling him that.
I
Um,
actually changed my Twitter picture to the one with him and me from stage one. I did that today.
nice.
Random information that was not important at all. I don't know why I said that.
But anyway, what I'm saying is their DPS are not the most consistent in the books, right? They're not really known for their consistency. They're definitely really good, but they're not what the team is relying on right now to win. They're definitely relying on their team play and especially enabling the tanks through Mickey and Siegel. Siegel has been doing such a fantastic job of covering for that team, blocking the flanks that he needs to block, coming back to the front line and defending, coming back to the back line and defending, pushing in and getting kills as needed, clutch diva bombs with Mickey. Like these two guys have great synergy and great game sense. Like both of them are doing super good, and I think that is a big part of why Dallas have been relatively successful this stage and super successful compared to previous stages.
Yeah, it's getting pretty exciting. I'm curious to see. I keep waiting as a fan. I keep waiting for the ball to drop, and I keep waiting for it to be like, oh yeah, no, we were just kidding. We're not that good. And then like these things keep happening, and I
Well,
mean
you
the
have the
shock,
Bone Texas next week,
yeah,
so
the shock loss. You have to just like chalk that up to Architect and freaking uh, Baby Bay. Baby Bay comes in at King's Row and just kills everybody. The entire match is Hanzo, like just destroying everybody.
I was
And
gonna say, moving to Shock,
yeah,
this should be titled "The Return of Baby Bay" because they've
right.
been keeping him hidden for a while. I think Architect had been taking the spotlight, but you can't keep Baby Bay locked up for too long. His
Nobody puts baby in the
personality is
corner.
too big. Yeah, I know his
Nobody
personality
puts
is too big.
baby Bay in the corner.
So he had to come out, and he definitely showed up, man. Baby Bay is still alive, and he still wants everyone to know that he's not going anywhere. He wants that main DPS slot in the team, I am pretty sure. But Architect is also just so freaking good, man. That guy is a widow machine, and very clutch changes too to Genji.
And
He's I know he's
Farah.
a and Farah. He's a hard
Farah,
carry,
his
man.
his Farah on Oasis was just driving me nuts.
You can definitely say that this team has some of the most mechanically skilled DPSs in the league. I don't know if you can speak for the overall performance of the team, especially against the better teams of the league, but the mechanics are there, man. They have the potential to really pop off. Anything you guys want to talk about Shock versus Uprising? Because Uprising is looking a little bit shaky, man. They have not been able to recover since stage three. Their dive is just not working anymore. Mistakes has been relegated to secondary DPS. We're seeing Striker take a little bit more of the Widowmaker role. Um, so I don't know what is happening here.
They're just not looking good. They're just going downhill. They played dive well. They had a good coach. Now there's no dive, and they lost their good coach. That's all I got to say about that.
Do you think
Yeah,
it has a lot to do with the loss of the coach? Do we really think that?
I mean, my personal opinion, yes.
I don't know. I don't know enough about the coach and how much he brought to that team. I think he showed a lot in the fact that he was able to get them past the he who shall not be named phase and kind of really dominate stage three. But again, they had been working on dive for the last three stages. And so I think they just take more time they haven't played together for that long since the Overwatch League started when they started playing together. And I think they just aren't meshing with this new synergy. They just can't figure out what to do in what situations. And that could be a lot of the coach, just not understanding the team as well as maybe the last coach did, and maybe not providing the strategy that the last coach did. Or maybe both coaches were just really good at dive coaching and don't know how to figure out the strategy either.
Well, what this shows me is it actually is just it's either one of two things. They either aren't very diverse players and don't have the range to change to the actual meta picks, or the coaching staff is not letting them. It's one of those two things, and I don't know which it is.
I don't know. I know that their current coach right now is Hook. He is like the retired StarCraft pro. He's probably like the most known StarCraft North American player. And he was a big Overwatch player for a while. He's played from Team Canada in the World Cup. And he's been in a coaching role for a while. He's done casting as well for a few tournaments back in the day. One thing I will say about Huck is that he is a very analytical mind. You can definitely tell he's the kind of player that understands the game at a deeper level, and takes a lot of time and pride achieving the level. But I will also say Huck sometimes has come out to, or has shown to be not the best people's person, if that makes sense there.
I mean, well, he posted this thing in, I think, their Discord where it was like, maybe in the future I can shed more light on recent events, but as of right now, it's important for me to be professional and not degrade myself or the team to a level of rumors and blame and the blame game. Okay.
Huck is one of those players that he has the ability to brag because his achievements truly do speak to his level of play, but he tends to sometimes fall in like the arrogant side towards some people.
It's very
Um,
Kai of him.
I think so, and he keeps to himself a lot. He's not as much in the spotlight as Kai Kai. is, I think. But anyways, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. That's more of me just seeing him as he has acted in public and other stuff, and that sometimes can affect the team, right? Maybe that was thing that Krusty was bringing to Uprising. Maybe he was more of like that people's person coach, and they made a better team. But
He
again, this
was
is all
the
assumptions.
nice parent, and
Yeah, the nice parent.
Huck was the
eh,
strict
Huck,
dad
yeah,
or
good
strict
cop,
mom.
bad cop. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Huck is more like the analytical. Like you guys are doing this wrong. We got to improve here. We got to improve here. We got to improve here. Which you need that coach, right? You need a coach that can tell
Rub
you
some dirt on it. Rub some
exactly
dirt
what you
on it.
need. But maybe Krusty was more of like, all right, but how about you let me tell them how to do it?
Right. I think, whenever anybody's doing poorly, I don't think you can ever blame it on just one person or one thing. I think it's much more, there's a lot more variables that go into it. So he might play a part in it, but I don't think it's the only part.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing to say is that Huck is um, a very sociable guy. He's a very charismatic guy. If you ever see him talk, he's very well spoken. He can definitely hold his own in the spotlight. But he can sometimes be a little hot headed. I remember back in the day when he was casting with ZP. Actually, they
Where
got
they
into
got
it
to do it. And he told him,
in the
well, at
middle of
least
the
I've made
cast.
it out of gold.
Yeah. So I think
Whoa!
yeah, in the middle
Yeah,
of the cast.
it was pretty funny.
It was really funny, actually. If you guys haven't seen that, I would. If you just Google it, I'm pretty sure that you can find it pretty easily. But it's just what I'm talking about. Like he can get hot headed. So I don't know if it has anything to do with it. We're talking a lot about the coaches here. It could also be a player's problem, like you said, Bob, where players have not been able to adapt as well. Striker being such a good tracer, but it's not like he's exactly been an all-star widow. He's okay at it, but definitely no linker there.
Yeah, I would rather have mistakes back on the widow if I was them. Here,
Yeah,
Striker,
yeah.
there's this new character called Brigitte.
Alrighty, let's talk about Outlaws, Mel. They actually did pretty good this week. I know that I was giving you a little crap at the beginning of the show, but they also had probably the easiest week that they've had in a very long time, going up against the Shanghai Dragons and against the Florida Mayhem. They're able to take it 3-0 against the Dragons and 3-1 against Mayhem. Shanghai weren't
Yeah,
able to tie a game, huh?
right. Well, it happens. Muma, I think, was on a giggery kick and was like, "Come on, guys, don't kill her." I'm just kidding. Taking it easy on her. Ugh. No, I mean they looked okay. Um, Arhan debuted, which I didn't know this, but I guess he's been here for a while, but he's been on a different visa where he couldn't play, and he just got it passed. So this was the first week he was eligible.
Mm-hmm.
And the first game against the Dragons, he dominated the kill feed on the wrong side of the kill feed because he died every time. It was like, oh, Arhan's dead. It was like, oh, Dak's dead, right? Same type of thing. And then against Mayhem, it kind of turned it around, and we saw some good Arhan and some differences. He had one good game against the Dragons where he played Genji, and he's a Genji specialist.
Yeah.
But Genji's not that great right now,
Although
so
you
But
gotta
they
give
didn't
it,
really play Brigitte against it, so it worked out.
yeah. But it
and
was
that
on
too.
Gibraltar, and it was on points 1 and 2, so I don't think they were really going to play a Brigitte on those anyways.
And one thing to say is he hasn't played a single game on the stage.
I don't
Um,
care. Don't come in and just die all the time.
but you got to take account into other variables, right? Like nervousness. This is his debut. He has
Pull
not.
it together.
Yeah,
You're an
nobody has
outlaw.
ever seen him. You don't
And
know how you're gonna
how
perform.
is his
Everyone has his
English?
eyes on you.
Like how is his English and communication and everything there too?
No, it's not good, but they did come out and say that against the Mayhem, the Outlaws started making the calls in Korean so that Arhan would feel more accepted and kind of help him feel make it easier for him, right? Not
That's
not
pretty cool
necessarily
of
more
them. That's
accepted,
pretty
but
cool of them actually to like learn certain callouts on Korean and just like call it like that for his own sake. That shows very big team camaraderie and like just a great attitude from them in general.
yeah, I feel like even if it didn't really help him in understanding the game, like if he knew the same callouts in
Right.
English, which he probably does. But I think on top of everything else that was going on that week, it's his first week playing. He's been there. I feel like it made him feel more welcome, if nothing
Welcomed,
else.
absolutely, because it shows that the team is making an effort to have you there, and they want
Right.
to integrate you, right? They want to make you feel like you're part of the team, and they want you to participate. They're trying to open channels of communication with you to
Mhm.
make it easier on you. I don't know. That says a
It's not
lot
like do it
for
our
that.
way or don't do
Yeah,
it at
right.
all, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Dallas Field could have taken note.
Yeah, I think it was a very kind gesture, possibly learned by the mistakes of Dallas. So I think it was cool. I think he was probably sitting there going, "Okay, he just said four, but I think he meant to say two." Like that type of thing. So
No.
he might have
I'm
been
sure
more
they had
annoyed, but
set
he
words.
probably was. It probably felt very good to him.
Yeah, I think it's more just about him coming in this late in the game too. I think it's hard, and you're coming into a pretty established team who doesn't really have a lot of swaps and subs typically, and so putting somebody else in, especially in the place of Jake, is got to be a lot of pressure in general.
Hmm.
Because I think Jake plays a good leadership role on that team. So I'm sure that was tough, but good for you, Outlaws.
Congratulations,
Golf claps,
Outlaws.
golf claps.
Lastly, we go into Dynasty. Thankfully for them, they had an easy week as the Outlaws as well, going against the Dragons and against Mayhem. Although I will say I feel really bad for Mayhem because this was their match. They should
Was
have definitely won this match. They had it in their grips and they let it go. I don't know if it was nervousness or they jumped the gun and just couldn't get it together, but they got reverse sweep by Shanghai. I mean, by Seoul Dynasty. Sorry. After Seoul Dynasty was looking like they had no business winning this match. The first two matches, like Mayhem looked
Wait, no.
so good.
Wait, what?
Florida Mayhem
Shanghai won against
Oh,
versus
the.
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Okay, sorry. You lost me there.
Sorry. I was also talking about the Dragons because Dynasty won against the Dragons as well, 4-0. But what I wanted to focus on was more on the Mayhem match because Mayhem has been improving steadily, slowly, but steadily. And this was their opportunity to shine, man. Dynasty is on the decline. They are I hate to say it, but like they are a weakened target right now. It's like the prey that has been shot once and has been running in the wild for a minute. Like your chances of killing it are just like so easy. I mean, you have it in your hands at this point. Um, and they couldn't do it, man. What do you guys think?
That's a bummer. They came so close. It was a great game to watch. I mean, I think they lost all of their confidence in Oasis. I think
Mm-hmm.
was the third map, and they just got demolished. And I felt like it was just downhill from there. Like there
Mm-hmm.
was no coming back for them. They were just in their own heads.
Yeah, I don't know what their deal is, but they do it quite often. I mean, they do look good and bring games close. I mean, they're very similar to how Dallas Fuel was through stage 1 through 3. They bring games really close. They just can't seal the deal. So I think they're close to finding something. What that is, I don't know.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to discuss is Shanghai Dragons brush cheerleaders. They had
Uh,
cheerleaders versus
that
their
was
in their
awesome.
match.
Yep, that was a little
At
weird.
this point, they're just trying everything, right? Like whatever we can do to maybe make this happen.
Kaguri looks
You guys,
unimpressed every time.
who does?
Kaguri,
Giguri.
she's like,
Yeah, it's very stereotypical there with cheerleaders, and they did have men though, so that was good. It was nice
I
even
thought it was
balance we
cool.
had
I
going
thought it
on
was
there.
cool, putting some heart and emotion into things,
Did you
showing.
guys also see the guy that was selling his book?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh my gosh, you've got to look that bit up. The little guy that's got a Shanghai hat on, and he's like all talking about how it's okay to lose because we're cool, and then he pops up like a book. It's like legit though, I think. Funny. Really
Oh,
funny.
cool.
I'm gonna find it for you.
I
I
gotta
don't
check
think
it
I
out.
saw that either.
Yeah, you did.
But I don't know. It's cool because it just shows that even though they've been losing so much, they're almost almost becoming like a thing, right? Like almost people want to cheer for them almost because of that reason.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
it's cheer for the
Maybe
underdog.
being the worst of the worst in the league is not so bad, or maybe being the worst of the worst is not so bad. You still get a big fan base
Tell
if
that
you're
to the players.
in. I'm sure they're not enjoy it that much.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding over
Dia
here. I'm just
actually
trying to find the silver lining for them, Bob.
Dia's actually not very happy currently because he's been playing hard and playing well since switching off of Tracer. If he thought he was playing well as Tracer, I just beg to differ with him. We have differing opinions, but he's been doing good on Widow, and his team just can't really get anything done.
He's had really great moments on Widow, and I think he was forced into the Tracer role a little bit, and he did all right. He did better than Jake, but he he didn't have that many bright moments. Um, but I think he's really gotten his feel back with Widow, and I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah, Dia has been looking really good. He got player of the match actually this week for the first time. A lot of people were happy about it. He was not expecting it. But I think that the Overwatch League has recognized it too. A lot of the analysts and casters have seen his improvement, and I'm sure they can see the numbers behind the curtain. And they have recognized that as well. So good for him. Dia looking real good. Um, and at this point, it's looking like maybe next stage they might get their first win. I think hopes for this stage are pretty much over, or not next stage. I was gonna say next season because I don't think they're making it to the playoffs, guys. Newsflash.
What? There's still a chance.
Yeah, there's not even a chance to make it to the
No, I
stage
know.
playoffs.
I know.
No, it's over for them, unfortunately. All right, but that'll do it for the recap this week. Thank you guys for joining us as always. Next week, we have the last week of the stage, and then it'll break straight into playoffs and then the finals. So we're quickly coming to the end of the league. I feel a little sad, you know. We this whole year has been kind of marked by the league for us. And so far, I've paced my weeks according to Overwatch League. I don't even know what I'm gonna do once it's over. I'm gonna have so
That's
much
what I was
Yeah,
gonna
to
we're
say.
we're gonna
What are
have
we
a
gonna
lot of
do?
time to play, but
Okay.
as far as the show goes, we're thinking of things and what we could do in the off season. We appreciate any feedback you guys might have. Tweet at us, talk to us in Discord. Let us know if any ideas you have or things you would like to see.
Absolutely. We have a little review coming in. I'm gonna pass it to Mel to read it out.
Oh, yeah. Our
It's a
iTunes
big
review?
review. It's a big review. It's not a little review.
A
It is.
bigger
It's a
review.
big
I'm
5
sorry.
stars by Warren 117. He gave us 5 stars. He said, "Great show. You guys are truly wonderful. Great source of news and anything else involving the Overwatch League. All 3 guests bring a special element to the show. Maybe one day you guys will become ALA Valiant fans, and then the show will be perfect."
Well,
Not
we
gonna
had
happen.
one. We started with one, and then he had to go.
I'm not
Unfortunately.
against the LA Valiant.
But I mean, if the LA Valiant keeps playing like they're playing, I might have to become a fan, guys. I might have to buy an LA Valiant shirt.
Yeah, your best bet is Andres. He's definitely the most wishy-washy Fairweather fan, so he
I'm
is.
a flipper. I'm a flipper over here. Whoever is having a great gameplay and entertains me and
Yes,
shows
you
me
jump on
great
the
strats,
bandwagon.
I'm there. Listen, I just appreciate good gameplay. That's all.
I appreciate it while staying loyal to my team. It's okay. It's okay.
Uh, hey, I've stayed true to New York Excelsior for the most part, but
Oh,
I still
they've made it really
appreciate
tough
other
for
teams.
you, right? They've really pushed the boundaries there of your loyalty
Oh,
with
my
winning
loyalty, yeah.
all
No,
of their games almost.
they're doing a great job
It's been a
with my
rough road for
loyalty.
you, man. It's been a rough road.
I will say, Bob, you definitely are the most loyal. You've endured the worst already, so
Hashtag
I
bird
think
blue.
that's right. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. As always, you can join us in our High Noon Pick'em League. You can go to highnoonpickems.com. You can find the Overwatch League Recap League and compete against us. The stage is almost over, but we'll be doing this hopefully on the next stage and for the playoffs. So if you guys still want to compete on us there, Bob is doing quite good this stage. He's pretty proud, almost caught up to death below.
Killed it. Well, I'm
Mel
killing him this stage at the moment.
Nice.
It's
Nice,
just
nice,
in the
nice.
overall, I'm behind by 450. So if I would have got that Gladiators pick, that first game of the stage that I missed, I'd be tied with him overall. It's a bummer.
Mel and I
Just to
still
point out,
recovering for a few weeks of missing or a few days of
yeah,
missing picks.
yeah, but that's not our fault. So, but just to point out, our review is from the same person who is in the lead of our High Noon Pick'ems.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
I didn't know that. I like his review a little less now. I'm just kidding. I'm just
Must
kidding.
be because he's a Valiant fan. I see. I see.
No, no, no. I'm just teasing. I love you guys. Also, you can find us on Twitter at Owl Recap. You can find us on Twitch at Twitch TV/Owl Recap every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join our Discord community at discord.me/Omnic Lab, where you can chat with us, ask us questions, find other listeners of the show, group up with people. We have game nights. We hang out in the audio channels when some of the matches are going on. So make sure to join us there if you want to participate on all of that. Also, you can email the show with any business inquiries or any questions or feedback at contact@owlrecap.com. And lastly, if you want to help the show completely free of charge, you can leave us an iTunes review. It helps with our visibility. It's a great tool for the podcast to gain some traction. So, and it also warms our hearts. So, if you guys want to leave a little review, we really appreciate it.
Big review.
Also, last but not least, join us on Patreon. If you guys really appreciate the show and want to help us keep growing, keep making the best content that we can, Patreon is the best way to do that. You can donate per show that we do, any amount that you deem necessary or appropriate. And it really helps us with things like traveling to the finals, traveling to Burbank to be able to capture all of the interviews, talk to the players, to the casting talent, all of the people there. It's a great time. We want to be able to do it a little more often, but it's a little harsh on our own personal budget. So this is where you guys can really, really help us. Anything you guys want to add here?
I'll just add for Patreons. I don't know about Mel, but I'll be in chat Wednesday night for the Battle of Texas.
Oh, I'll be there. Unless we start losing, then I might have to go, over to the other side of the room where I can't hear Bob screaming.
Are you gonna catch a game, Dre?
Yeah, you can meet me on Thursday, June 7th for the Gladiators versus the New York Excelsior game. That should be pretty exciting.
That should be a good one.
Valiant already beat him. Let's see if the other half of LA can carry on.
Mm, We'll see. No, but thank you so much to all the Patreons out there. You guys are really helping. You guys are awesome. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. Lastly, you guys can find us on Twitter. Personally, if you want to follow us, you can find me at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. And let me pass it to my co-host to tell you where you can find them.
You can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can also find me weekly on Watchpoint Radio, and you can also find me on Prepare to Attack. What about you, Mel?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch, or you can find me on the Cavalry. That's all.
That's right. Thank you guys. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Peace out. Why'd I say peace out? All right, let's raid somebody who's on. Peace out. We're still live. Just heads up. But I'm finding someone to raid. Who should we raid?
Still alive.
Overwatch League Network?
Are they? I don't see them on.
Yeah, they are. OWLN show.
Hit it.
Huh. Why don't I see him?
OW Ellen Show.
I don't think. Does the chat have any
There you go, babe.
questions?
Chat.
Chat, chat, chat.
Ask now or be quiet forever. I'm just kidding, not forever. Pretty much until next Monday when we're live.
Huh. I wonder why they're not coming up on my list. That's weird. Oh well. Well, guys, we're gonna send you to the Overwatch League network. They're our friends, and tell them we said hi.
Kinder's like Spider Pine throws a game when it's overtime. I like it. It's pretty catchy.
Oh man.
All right, we're raiding. Got 10. Nice.
10!
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I'm a lot better at raiding than Andreas is.
It only took you 5 more minutes than it took me.
True. But I actually did it. All right, guys. See you later. Thank you for coming.
Bye.